Up in Utah, I've been there. I'm telling you, they have a small army guarding a nigga. Multiple shifts, checkpoints, all type of shit. They were treating the shit like it was almost like a maximum security jail. Like, to keep it real, Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania didn't have better people protecting him than YoungBoy has 24 hours a day. Like, I'm going up there, these niggas got silencers, they got snipers. Like, these niggas was planning for some other shit. But I'm guessing when you got the money, you can just pay niggas just to be a smart.
NBA YoungBoy reportedly spends a staggering $30 million annually on his security. We're talking about a full-scale private army, complete with snipers and checkpoints leading to his house, almost as if he's a sitting president. Before we get into the details, I'm going to break down 5 mind-blowing facts about this massive operation. You have to realize that this isn't your typical celebrity protection detail. This is military-grade security that costs more than most people's entire net worth. No exaggeration. It's wild to think about, but being one of the biggest rappers in the world right now puts a massive target on your back. NBA YoungBoy isn't just another artist. He's dominating the charts with millions of fans across the globe. But that level of success brings serious complications. When you're at the top, there are always people who want to see you fail. I'm not just referring to social media trolls either. We're talking about genuine threats and real-world danger from people who might actually try to cause harm for the sake of clout, money, or even just pure jealousy. When you really think about it, the pressure is intense. This man has deep-seated friction with several major players in the industry. Coming from the streets and rapping about real-life situations is a direct recipe for danger. It's reached a point where he literally can't go anywhere without constantly looking over his shoulder. When you really think about it, that's a heavy reality to live. That is the hidden cost of reaching that elite level of success. Your life changes completely. You lose the freedom to just walk outside like a normal person. Every single move has to be calculated because there are people out there who genuinely want to see him harmed. But it's not just industry beef at play here. Obsessed fans can be just as dangerous as any street enemy. He likely receives thousands of messages every day, and some people cross the line from being a fan to becoming a full-blown stalker. We're talking about individuals who track down his home and show up unannounced, convinced they have a personal relationship with him just because they listen to his music. The scariest part is that these individuals often have more time and resources to track him than you'd ever expect. These individuals will spend months planning, tracking his every movement, and learning his daily routines. Because of that, this security operation has to account for threats coming from literally every direction. But here's where it gets interesting. NBA YoungBoy is a real street dude at heart. Usually, guys from that background don't like having security around them all the time. In the beginning, he was actually resistant to all this protection. He had that mentality of, I can handle myself and I don't need anyone watching over me. That's that street pride talking. He likely thought people wouldn't actually try him like that. However, reality hits different when you realize fame puts you in situations where street smarts alone aren't enough. We aren't just talking about one-on-one beef anymore. We're talking about organized attempts from people with serious resources who might strike when you least expect it. Eventually, he had to swallow his pride and accept that he needed this level of protection. Once I break down the scale of the operation he's running now, you'll understand why he really had no other choice. Hiring security at this level isn't as simple as posting a job on Indeed. We're talking about recruiting ex-military personnel, former Secret Service agents, and experts who have protected world leaders in actual war zones. These aren't just physically intimidating guys. They are highly trained professionals with specialized skill sets. The background checks alone likely take months. The team has to ensure these recruits have zero connections to anyone who might want to harm him. They look for any financial vulnerabilities that could lead to bribes and conduct psychological screenings to ensure the operation isn't compromised. Then there's the training. These guards have to memorize the exact layout of his property, master every escape route, and run drills for every possible emergency scenario. It's essentially building a private army from the ground up. Let me break down exactly what this multi-million-dollar team does for NBA YoungBoy, because this is where the scale of it truly gets insane. These aren't just regular bodyguards. We're talking about a full military-style operation with trained personnel working multiple shifts around the clock. These are professionals who specialize in weapons handling, surveillance, and advanced threat assessment. They monitor everything, every person coming and going, every vehicle approaching, and every movement in the surrounding area. They have dedicated communication systems, backup plans, and pre-calculated escape routes. Honestly, they probably have a better handle on what's happening around that house than the FBI. But it gets even deeper. Their protection isn't limited to when he's out in public. They secure his entire property and his family. They monitor online threats and likely even vet his food to ensure no one is trying to poison him. That is the level of caution we're dealing with here. And there's another layer most people don't consider: digital security. In today's world, threats aren't always physical. There are hackers constantly trying to access his personal data, track his location through his devices, or even cybercriminals attempting to steal his financial info and leak his unreleased music. This security budget likely covers full-time cybersecurity experts dedicated solely to protecting his digital footprint. They monitor his social media, secure his recording equipment, and ensure his communications are never intercepted. Think about it, if someone hacks his phone to find his exact location or schedule, all that physical security becomes useless. This digital shield is just as vital as the guards on the ground now. Let's talk about where all this goes down. NBA YoungBoy lives in Utah, up in the Gravedigger Mountains, and the way his security operates there is straight out of a movie. DJ Academics actually visited the house and described something incredible. They have actual checkpoints on the way up the mountain. Similar to entering a military base, you can't just drive up to his front door. You have to pass through multiple security stops where trained personnel verify your identity and your reason for being there, likely running background checks before you even get near the property. Most intense of all, Academics mention they have snipers positioned around the areas. Is a completely different level of protection. We're talking about experts with high-powered rifles covering every possible angle and approach to the property. This isn't a game. He essentially has a small army guarding him 24/7 in rotating shifts. As soon as one team finishes their watch, another takes over. There is never a single moment where the estate isn't protected by trained professionals. Choosing the Utah mountains was actually a genius move that most people overlook. The location itself is a core part of the security strategy. Mountains provide natural barriers and perfect vantage points, allowing security to spot anyone approaching from miles away with very few entry routes to the property. It's like choosing the ultimate defensive position for a battle. Additionally, Utah has significantly fewer paparazzi and celebrity stalkers than cities like LA or Miami, because the local population is smaller. Any outsider trying to scout the area stands out immediately. It's brilliant strategic planning disguised as a simple desire for privacy. Even the weather works in his favor. The snow and harsh winter conditions make it nearly impossible for unwanted visitors to approach without being detected. Up there, Mother Nature becomes part of the security system. But wait, here's the part that's going to blow your mind the most. DJ Academics broke down the exact costs of this operation, and the numbers are absolutely staggering. Think about it. YoungBoy owns a property valued between $10 million and $15 million. But that's just the baseline. This man actually informed a judge that he pays $2.4 million every single month for 24/7 security, handled by elite personnel. Let that sink in for a second. $2.4 million a month. That adds up to nearly $30 million a year just to stay safe. Most people won't see that kind of money in their entire lifetime, yet he spends it annually on protection alone. Keep in mind, he's still wearing an ankle monitor due to his ongoing legal situation, so he specifically chose a home where his probation officer could stay close by. But even with those legal restrictions, he's made sure he is protected like a world leader. Academics even made a comparison that sounds hard to believe. He claimed the security at YoungBoy's estate was more airtight than the protection Donald Trump had during the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. To think that a rapper has a more sophisticated security detail than a former president of the United States is wild. It's an operation so intense that it genuinely puts some government security protocols to shame. They are treating this property like a maximum security prison, but instead of keeping inmates in, the entire focus is on keeping threats out. We're talking multiple checkpoints, highly trained personnel at every post, and surveillance systems likely monitoring every single inch of the grounds. The wildest part is that none of this is for show. It's actually necessary. This isn't just about being paranoid or flexing. This is the reality of what it takes to keep someone of his status safe in today's world. Let me break down the full scope of this security operation, because what we've looked at so far is really just the tip of the iceberg. What if I told you this $30 million a year setup likely involves way more than just guys with guns? We're talking about cybersecurity experts, tracking his digital footprint, and intelligence teams identifying potential threats before they ever become a physical reality. There are probably even specialists whose entire job is to map out escape routes and secure safe houses. Think about it. They likely have a team monitoring social media 24/7 for any mention of a threat. They might even have contacts within law enforcement to stay ahead of any local issues. This could be a full-scale intelligence network built around protecting one individual. Honestly, the sheer logistics behind it all are insane. Coordinating all these different security teams, ensuring everyone has the right equipment, training them on the specific layout of the property, and keeping them updated on evolving threats, that is a massive full-time job for a whole team of people. Honestly, this operation likely has its own dedicated command center, where everything is monitored in real time. We're talking a wall of screens showing every camera angle, advanced communication systems to link every post, and probably even direct lines to local law enforcement and emergency services. But here is something wild that rarely gets discussed. the economic impact an operation like this has on the local Utah community. Think about it, $30 million a year doesn't just vanish. That money flows into local security firms, equipment suppliers, and perhaps even local law enforcement for coordination. This security detail is likely creating dozens of high-paying jobs in the area. Local businesses are probably seeing the benefits. 2. These security teams need to eat. They need housing for extended shifts, and they need fuel and maintenance for their vehicles. This single security budget is likely providing a boost to the entire local economy. The crazy part is that local authorities probably appreciate having this level of professional security around because it actually lightens their workload. If anything serious happens, the team can handle it without draining local police resources. However, we have to consider what living with this level of security does to someone psychologically. Imagine waking up every day knowing you need a small army just to stay alive. This is where things get truly heavy. NBA YoungBoy can't just wake up and decide to grab a bite at his favorite spot. Every single move has to be planned, coordinated, and approved by a security team. That isn't true freedom. It's living in a golden cage. Think about the people in his inner circle. 2. His family, his friends, anyone who wants to visit, has to navigate this entire security apparatus. It likely puts a real strain on those relationships because nothing is simple anymore. At the same time, can you imagine the peace of mind that comes with this level of protection? He can actually sleep at night knowing there are trained professionals ensuring no one can get to him or his family. But here's a perspective most people overlook. How does this environment affect his music and his creative process? On one hand, knowing he's completely safe probably allows him to lock in and focus entirely on his art without the constant weight of external threats. He can be creative and vulnerable in his lyrics without always looking over his shoulder. On the flip side, that level of isolation might eventually sever his connection to the streets and the raw experiences that fuel his music. It raises a tough question. How do you maintain that same authenticity when you're living in a fortress surrounded by professional security? Maybe that is exactly why his music has evolved. He isn't just rapping about street life anymore. He's rapping about the reality of being successful while simultaneously being trapped by that success. That is a perspective only someone in his specific position could truly understand. Now, let's look at this from a business standpoint, because $30 million a year is a massive investment. But when you consider the revenue NBA YoungBoy generates, it actually starts to make perfect sense. Between his music, tours, endorsements, and other ventures, he is likely bringing in $100 million or more annually. Spending 30% of that on security might sound insane to the average person, but for someone at his level, it's a calculated business decision. After all, what good is all that money if you aren't around to enjoy it? What is the point of building an empire if you can't protect it? This security investment is literally safeguarding his ability to keep producing. If something were to happen to him, that entire revenue stream stops instantly. His family would be devastated, his team would lose their livelihoods, and his fans would lose their favorite artist. In a way, this operation is protecting far more than just one person. But wait, we haven't even touched on the technology behind this whole operation yet. We are likely looking at military-grade surveillance, night vision cameras, motion detectors, and potentially even drones patrolling the airspace around the property. The technology budget alone likely exceeds the cost of most people's homes. Consider the communication systems. These security teams must remain in constant contact, which probably requires encrypted radio networks, secure phone lines, and perhaps even satellite communications in case standard systems are compromised. Then there are the vehicles. We're likely talking about armored cars and potentially even helicopters on standby for emergency evacuations. The transportation costs alone could easily run into the millions. To put this in perspective, let's compare it to what other celebrities spend on protection. Trust me, NBA YoungBoy is in a league of his own. Most A-list stars might spend $1 million to $2 million a year, which is already considered high-end protection. But $30 million, that is presidential-level spending. That's the kind of budget countries allocate to protect world leaders. Even other rappers with high-profile feuds or legitimate threats against them don't spend anywhere near this amount. Think about Drake, who has had public beefs with multiple people, or other artists facing real dangers. None of them are operating with this level of security. It makes you realize just how serious the threats against YoungBoy must be to justify such an expense. This isn't about flexing or showing off. This is about survival. And let's not forget the legal side of things. He is managing all of this while simultaneously navigating his ongoing legal battles. This adds another layer of complexity, coordinating with probation officers, ensuring all security personnel are properly licensed and backed, and making sure none of this interferes with his legal requirements. Managing that is likely a full-time job for a team of lawyers and legal experts. Furthermore, when you're spending this much on security, every cent has to be documented for tax purposes, all contracts must be ironclad, and you have to ensure the methods used for protection don't cross any legal lines. So, here's the $30 million question. Is all this security actually worth the price tag? From a financial standpoint, if this level of protection allows him to keep making music, touring, and building his brand without the constant fear of being targeted, then the return on investment is massive. From a quality of life perspective, however, it's more complicated. He is safe, but he is also essentially living in a fortress. He can't move freely, enjoy spontaneous moments, or live a normal life. But the reality is, once you reach that level of fame and success, a normal life isn't really an option anymore. Perhaps having this elite security actually grants him more freedom to focus on his music and business rather than constantly looking over his shoulder. And we can't forget about his family. This operation is protecting much more than just NBA YoungBoy himself. It's about protecting his loved ones too. When you look at it that way, $30 million starts to seem like a reasonable price for keeping your family safe. Having kids changes everything. Suddenly, it's not just about your own safety anymore. You're responsible for protecting innocent people who didn't choose this level of fame and attention. That responsibility likely makes every dollar of this security budget feel completely justified. Honestly, after breaking all of this down, NBA YoungBoy's $30 million annual security budget is absolutely money. But when you look at the full picture, it actually seems necessary. He is living a reality that most of us can't even begin to imagine. The intensity of the threats, the complexity of staying safe while maintaining a career, and the weight of protecting his family are all far beyond what regular people deal with. What's truly crazy is the fact that we live in a world where someone has to spend this kind of money just to stay alive. It shows just how dangerous fame can really be. This isn't about living lavishly, it's about survival. That is the real story behind NBA YoungBoy's security operation. If you learned something new about this insane setup, make sure to smash that like button and let me know in the comments. If you think $30 million a year is worth it for this level of protection, if you want more breakdowns of the expensive lifestyles of your favorite artists, make sure to subscribe because I've got more content coming your way. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.